Okay, perfect. Welcome to OPN. So the Open People Network, where we find ninjas that could come, speak, and share their stories with everybody. So today we have some great entrepreneurs that are part of the panel. We have Tim, Sasha, and Jeremy. And today we're going to be able to chat it through the rise of social commerce. And I think we've got some great people that can share a lot of great stories. Kind of kick it off by going around the table, do a little introduction of each person. And then from there, we'll dive into some questions and really explore the whole side of social commerce. So I'll start myself. My name is Jeffery Potvin. I run a software company called Hardboot Communications, where we build out custom application software for an enterprise business. And we decided about 8 weeks ago that we would kick off a new project called OPN, which is opn.ninja. And what we were looking for was trying to give back to the business and explore and ask all the right questions, I guess, and pull information on from C-levels and entrepreneurs. So far, it's gone quite well. We've have, I think, 5. This is our 6th episode, and we have another one later tonight on the state of financing. So everything is kind of moving along. So it's quite fascinating little project. So today we're going to kick it off, and I'm going to turn it over to Tim. Tim, give us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. Hey guys, Tim Witten. Recently started a company called Rover Parking, which is essentially Airbnb for your driveways, sort of the quick 10-second spiel on it. So if you have a driveway that sits empty when you drive to work or on weekends, you can use it. If you're someone looking to park, you're able to find places to park that's more peer-to-peer rather than parking management. So over the last 3 years, I've really immersed myself into this social setting, into how you can help grow a business, whether it be in one city, across a country, or internationally through using a lot of different techniques online to try and, for me specifically, get downloads of users and get high quality downloads of users in an area where we can really go out and track how we actually do that.
Very cool. There's one thing I'll let you think about before we go through everything. Is I want you to share one thing about you that nobody would know, but we'll go through the loop first and then throw that out there.
Perfect.
Something unique.
Hi, my name is Sasha. I'm the CEO of Buns Trading Zone. Buns Trading Zone has started 3 years ago as a Facebook group. There are now over 200 Facebook groups. The app has launched about 6 months ago, and it's seen about 400,000 items and 100,000 transactions in that period. It's a bartering community, but it's also a lot more than that. And we're starting to realize that the evolution of the community that originally started this group is turning it into something much bigger, which is a social marketplace or a city network is what we're using to describe it. So that's me. And my history, my past, I've come from 11 years at the intersection of banking and finance. So designing technology solutions for large institutions, infrastructure.
Very cool. Jeremy, you're up. Jeremy, you're muted for some reason, so.
Is that better?
That's better, perfect.
Yeah, the one thing you don't know about me is I have no idea what a mute button is. No. So Jeremy Potvin, I have a startup called World of Angus. We are a media and lifestyle brand for dogs. We're a vertically integrated e-commerce company, essentially, with a top of funnel, which is our media site. We viewed this dog's world as everything inside and outside of the home, and we wanted to start building community. And this is how we started this company. We've got a team of writers. We've got this media site called Angus Post, which we build community and to sort of drive people down towards our product. The one thing I guess you wouldn't know about me, one of my first companies was a windsurfing school. I'm that old that windsurfing was a thing back then.
Oh, that's awesome.
There you go.
Very cool.
Classes once.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Tim, what was your one thing?
I guess I was going to go find I went skydiving recently, about 3 weeks ago, and I think what no one when I did that knew is that I'm absolutely terrified of heights. So actually going up in that small little plane and sitting on the edge and jumping out, while I think my buddies around me thought that I was pretty primed to go, it was probably one of the scariest things I've ever actually done.
Would you do it again?
I don't know. That took a lot of prep to get me up and into that plane mentally.
I did it like 20 years ago or something, and I felt like it was the best rush ever jumping out of the plane, but then it felt like a Snuggie the rest of the way down for about the next 20 minutes as you floated down to...
Yeah, the float's easy. It's sitting on the edge saying, I'm going to let go. This is nuts.
Yeah, not a fucking chance I'm ever doing that.
No, you should try it. It took a lot of effort for me to do it, but goddamn.
So the next company after the windsurfing company, I had a window cleaning company. So think about it. I don't like heights, and I had to train myself to stand on like the second run of a 40-foot ladder on the third floor washing windows. It was not fun. But you get used to it, you do. But I just can't see me getting on a plane and leaping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Sounds like you might be a base jumper then.
I don't think I'm doing any jumping, man.
Sasha, how about yourself?
One thing that someone would know about me, my first startup was a company called snailmailme.com. It was actually pretty innovative at the time. I was maybe like 15, 12 years ago. I was quite young. And what it did was it allowed people to upload a file and upload a data set of people that you wanted the file sent to. And at a young age, I negotiated a contract with Pitney Bowes, who's the world's largest outsourced printer. And what we did is we were able to send mail from enterprises to a number, like a high volume of customers in half the time for half the cost by routing it through servers through this enterprise and having them print it locally. So a Canadian institution would run a letter that they want to send to maybe 50,000 people in varying countries. And then we would take that file and that list, we'd automatically generate mail and then have it routed digitally through their servers and printed by this outsourcing company and then mailed there. So that's what I did a while ago. That was like when I was like 17, I think I founded that company.
You win. That's awesome.
I don't know, it was pretty cool. At the time, everyone was like, this is extreme. But now nobody really, I think it's still live too, funny enough.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I used to deliver 25-cent newspapers.
That's good.
Yeah. I think my first job, I had minimum wage at 13 years old at Loblaws, or no, at McDonald's for, I think it was $2.85 an hour. If that's dating myself, but either way. Yeah, back in the day, some good stuff. All right, so one of the things I think that would probably work the best at this very moment was to throw out what the world says the definition is for social commerce. So I'm going to read it, and then we can jump right in. So social commerce is a subset of electric commerce that involves social media, online media that supports social interactions, and user contributions to assist online buying and selling of products and services. So more succinctly, social commerce is the use of social networks in the context of e-commerce transactions. So I pretty much think that kind of summarizes everything there from, I think, how we all probably look at social commerce. So maybe what we'll do is we'll start off kind of, Tim, maybe you can kind of give us a lowdown on maybe some of the key things that have made your business commerce and why.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, we're still really trying to figure all this stuff out, and I'm sure everyone else here can probably attest to that as well. But I launched Rover about a year ago, and one of the most important things for us to understand is what our cost per acquisition is to actually get a customer on board. But one, to get them to download an app, and second, to actually understand what that person is actually doing in the app. So, you know, you think about downloads, and downloads is kind of in a way a vanity metric, because if they download the app and they don't transact on the app, kind of what you were saying, Sasha earlier in that you had, I can't remember the high level number, but you had 100,000 transactions. That's what you want at the end of it, right? So we've really been looking and trying to figure out the whole attribution side of social commerce. So making sure that once you get a user, you actually figure out what channel you got that user from, so that you're then able to go out and advertise to that same segment of user, whether it be in the city or whether it be in other cities. Social commerce is it's a great definition that you read there, Jeff, but at the end of the day, for us right now, it's the data analytics behind it and understanding how we're getting to those people on the different social platforms to ensure that our spend actually makes sense.
So are there a couple of spots that you're utilizing the most at the moment to drive into those verticals to make sure that you're being able to hit your metrics?
I mean, the easiest one out there is Facebook right now. You can literally start a Facebook campaign in half an hour, and it tracks and shows you the demographics, show you how much the cost per download is. It built a good dashboard in understanding it. What we were kind of talking about before we jumped on this call about all the integrations into Slack, Facebook's kind of the same way. There's a lot of different integrations you need to get into your technology to really follow that attribution. So, one of the big ones for us is branch.io, which we attach to all of our ads so that whenever we do a social ad, we're really able to follow that customer from when they downloaded it to what they're actually doing within our app. We can really understand, we pay $125 per download, say, but we're willing to pay $5 per download if it's someone who's actually going to transact with the service. So
yeah, if you could pick up volumes at a certain price point, like a cost per user, then you would, as long as you knew that the lifetime value of that customer would return profit to your business, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I mean, we're only launched a year, so us figuring out our lifetime value is still,
so hard. Yeah.
Board. But
It's not something that happens overnight. So you have to kind of keep playing with it. The measurement will change a little bit. Probably let's maybe jump into Sasha. How are you doing this before I jump into that next question? But what are some of the things that have really driven you into the social side of things in the last 6 months since you launched your product?
Yeah, so Buns was started on Facebook, right? It was born, we actually talk about the early days of Buns here once in a while and talk about how it was people hacked Facebook it was originally intended to be able to connect you with people that you knew. And Buns did the opposite of that. So a bunch of people pouring into a social group on Facebook saying like, hey, first of all, it was secret, so you couldn't search it, and it was invite only. So inherently, everyone was invited by somebody. And so it created this network and virality and growth that took it from, as a Facebook group took it from, I think maybe 6 months ago, it was at like 7,000 people, and now it's at like almost 60,000 people. And so that became the foundations for what Buns as a app, because we have an iOS app, an Android app, and a website, buns.com. But that set the foundations for social interaction between customers, and also highlighted how Facebook wasn't the perfect platform to connect people based on location. It was the perfect platform to connect people based on who you knew. And as we observed some of the problems that came out of the community, managing the community, we started building a product that was better suited for that. And so that quickly evolved as our community evolved. So in the last 6 months, Buns has spread to Nairobi. It has a group in Berlin. There's a group in Lisbon. There's a group in San Francisco. There's a group in New York. So geographically it's spreading, but also on an interest level it's spreading. And so people are congregating socially around interests. And those interests are maybe where Tim would find some of the best drivers to grow out of, because one of the biggest zones in Facebook is the Buns Pet Zone. I think there's, I want to be careful of quoting, but I think it's like 20,000 people or more maybe in that group. And so there's a really peculiar thing happening. I think people are kind of becoming less entertained or finding less value in their existing social network, and they're looking more to localize other local people to meet and have conversations with and have interactions with. And I think maybe the byproduct of that is some of those, like the interactions we've had with Uber drivers where, you have a cool conversation with someone you don't know and you're like, hey man, not everybody's bad. Like, I think it starts to debunk that myth. And also something else worth mentioning that's really interesting is recently Andreessen Horowitz, their most recent podcast came out, and I thought it was so well timed because I think we set this conversation topic maybe a week and a half ago. And I think yesterday it came out and it was about social commerce. And I was like, well, like, isn't this absolutely amazing? And what they were talking about was social commerce in a really different light. And I think it depends on your business and how you talk about it. Some of it, some people will look at it as the top of the funnel. Some of the people will look at it as the core tenet of what they are as a marketplace. But they were talking about it in the light of it being about Tesla and how Tesla is changing commerce, but it's not just Tesla, it's a byproduct of Kickstarter. And what happened was people are buying very large ticket items because they heard a friend bought one, or they don't want to feel left out. This is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And so people are buying something. It's a very new behavior when you buy something that you're not able to take home, and you're waiting a prolonged period of time with a very high ticket price for that product. And so I think that was a really new perspective on social commerce. But,
it's kind of almost giving you that the long duration that kind of gives that excitement. It's going to be here in 4 months. It's going to be here in a year kind of thing. And when you get it, that's where that big jump of excitement is, that I made this large purchase. It came in this way. It was perfect, that kind of thing. So you're going through all that emotion while you're waiting for it.
Well, there's also like the feedback loop. Like Elon Musk sends out tweets saying like, we've sold 100,000. And the next day it's like 120,000. And you're like, well, like the next step logically for something like that would be, we're going to limit it. And it's going to hit 300,000. And that's going to create even more FOMO to accelerate that purchasing power. What it does is also allows you to understand your manufacturing prior to, like you have literally very defined demand that you have to fulfill. And it's the first time in commerce where that, like, these are all things that probably people should listen to a podcast, but it's just fantastic. And it's really interesting what's happening.
It's I've been living that for about a year now on the Kickstarter. So I bought a couple of products, and they tell you in 3 months that they're going to be ready. And then in 3 months it's not ready, and they say in 6 months. And then they start saying, hey, meet our team. This process that we just did. Hey, meet our PR team. And then 6 months goes by and they're like, hey, the product's not ready yet. This? And by that point, I'm now at a year, and I'm like, man, this product was supposed to be out so long ago. I don't even remember when I ordered it. Do I really even need it anymore because I've lost the value? This is just for me. It's not a big ticket item. Excitement product for my bike. So excited, and just keeps diminishing because they're not hitting the need when he told you. So I don't know. I guess there's a mix of both, right?
Yeah, I've had both. I've had both situations happen to me. I've had it where I purchased something on. I purchased this thing called the Triton at one point. I don't know if everyone saw this. I kind of knew that it wasn't going to go through, but I also knew I was protected as a consumer. So I donated or purchased, or however you want to look at it, and it was this underwater respirator. And then it got called out as being falsifying a number of the videos, so that got refunded. But I also bought Braggy headphones, which are Bluetooth touch sensor headphones. They're activity trackers. They're great headphones. I bought those, and I was really impressed. I mean, like, it's a really difficult thing, though, to be able to actually, the good news is people are taking, social commerce takes one part of the formula out of the equation, which is guessing how many things you should make. Because people are able to pre-purchase it, and you know how large your run should be, down to the last unit. So I think that's extremely valuable, particularly for hardware manufacturers.
For sure. Jeremy, how about yourself?
We've built this whole company on a social footprint. And it was really important, all the learnings we had in my last startup at ShiftHub, how important an early strategy on this was. And I do talks about this often. And like Tim, we've been doing this about a year now. And the most important thing is to pick your strategy. And I always say, like, figure out what you can accomplish in a day, and then pack in a bunch more that you can physically accomplish, and just do it every day consistently. But the trick is you can't look behind you, because if you did, you'd just cry and be depressed, because it takes so long for this stuff and these communities that you want to build to kick in. And if you just go heads down for 3 months and look behind you, you're going to see almost no results. so right from the beginning, we thought, a content strategy would be the best way to connect with pet owners. And Facebook, obviously, being, we all seem to sort of begin and end there, is the place where everyone hangs out, and you just have to, use Facebook as a publishing strategy as aggressively as possible, and we do. We got lucky. Got about 6 months ago. Well, sorry, you get lucky because you've done 400 things that didn't really do anything, and then you do this one that someone picks up on, and suddenly we went from 500 visitors a day to about 600,000 over 4 days off of one article that we wrote, and that's what sort of launched. We pulled all of our content strategy from the blog that comes with this shitty Shopify. Shopify really has a shitty blogging platform, but we got so much traction there, and we
broadcasted everywhere. But that's good.
No, they know this. I've actually written them. I said, this is bullshit. Like, I shouldn't have to go and start a WordPress blog just to get to do what I want to do, because there's zero calls to action. We just couldn't do anything we wanted to do. We even hacked it a bit and still nothing, but that's when we really got serious about media, and we launched Angus Post. And so, we've got a team of writers, sometimes as much as 12 freelance writers, sometimes as few as 4 or 5. But we're probably producing about 200 pieces of original content a month. And this is the beginning and the top of our funnel. This is where we, connect with pet owners and try to understand them. And it all begins with trust, I think. So everything, when you look at our company, what it's called, World of Angus, we start off, what's going on inside the house, what's going on outside the house with your dog, and where are you headed? And it's a pretty small social graph. And we just wanted to connect with pet owners about topics that they would be concerned about across all 3 parts of that graph. And we started off with Angus Post and just writing and publishing. And we developed this really fun little Pinterest hack, which, in the early days, which we would just change source URLs and pictures and loop traffic in. And still to this day, Pinterest is probably our second biggest source of traffic, with the exception next to Facebook. And as we got better with content, we started looking out for media partnerships. So it started off with Vice Magazine. We just decided to start featuring offices that have dog-friendly day or dog days, or just always dog-friendly offices, and just doing a whole feature on them. We hired a little film crew, and we started off with Vice was the first one, and it gave us a real kick. And the next one we did was Links Equity, and we've got a bunch more in the pipe. That led to a partnership with Zoomer Media, and it's a big partnership. And we get 1.5 million eyeballs a month on our content. And so, that evolved into what's probably the most social thing that we're doing right now is our affiliate program with Instagram famous dogs. And this is where, Lori Lynn, who works for the company, who, she does this on a daily basis. I know she's sometimes like, well, I honestly can't believe my life. I'm literally sitting here just DMing dogs all day. And like, we found this little sweet spot. Like, it's like, and this happens in the real world too. There's these sweet spots with how many followers people have, that if you're over it, you're not converting. Like the Kardashians, apparently, like they're not converting. They get a couple $100,000 a tweet, but it doesn't convert. It's that, it was a supporting actress in The Purge Part 3 that this, if she puts out a tweet, people convert. And we found the same thing with dogs. Like you can find a dog with 200,000 followers and you send them a $260 bed and a bunch of stuff, and they post something and nothing happens. You find, little dogs with, 25 to 50,000 followers and send them, $18 worth of shampoo and grooming products. They post and they're getting a 500% ROI.
You think that's a result of the perception of authenticity of that post?
Yes, absolutely. You go look on our Instagram feed and look at pictures of us, and every one of these pictures, this is, a single person or a couple. They've got this dog and it's super cute, and it suddenly has all these followers, and they're busting their ass because they want to turn it into a business, and that's our sweet spot. And that's, I think we've got just under 100 affiliates right now. And we have a very aggressive plan to hit about 1,000 by the end of the year. And honestly, these guys are driving a lot of conversion for us, but they're also driving a lot of conversation. I had a customer who couldn't figure out how to enter a discount code who ended up getting me on the phone today. And this customer is actually from Canada, and she just could not stop talking about you guys are everywhere. And I'm like, really? I don't feel like we're everywhere. Like I check my bank account and don't know I'm everywhere just yet, but they're like, yeah, I just see, like, she follows this one dog called Four Yorkies mom who's like in the States, but she's just like so glued to this dog, and like these Yorkie communities are crazy. And there's like, 20 other Yorkies I think we have out there that share our products, and everyone's like, these Yorkie moms are like super into Yorkies, but she just sees our product everywhere. And so it was it was really, honestly, it was like an uplifting conversation for me to have today. Because startups, you have your up and down days, but this morning I had this woman just going, you guys are everywhere, and I see your products with all these ones, and this one posted a picture of the bed, and this one posted a picture of the blanket, and it works. She was on the phone just because she was trying to buy one of our waterproof dog blankets. Thankfully she couldn't figure out how to enter the code, and it was because of this little community that we've built of affiliates on Instagram.
And Sasha, I think you nailed on it too, right? Like, Jeremy, you're talking about authenticity and trust is absolutely everything. So
it's trust. It's literally, it's so much trust. I mean, it's a Gary Vaynerchuk thing, right? Like, give two things before you ask for one. And it works. And we kind of try to follow this rule. We publish all this content, like so many articles, and every once in a while you get this great spike, but we build in, on our site, we built in all of our ad real estate using DFP to, we see it, premium content, with call to actions, drive people down to our premium products, into our channels, whether it's our Shopify channel or Amazon or eBay. That's our flow, but nothing gets below the content at the top unless it's quality content, you built the right community, and they trust you. And I don't want that. You could just have, here's my e-commerce site, and just go and just get really good at targeting, and get yourself to, I spend $1, I get $3 back, and just hammer people with newsfeed ads all day long. Okay, that's a business. I don't think it's a business you can exit from, because that never stops. Like, unless you've built a community, unless you've built trust, you're just going to get people to convert, and that's it. You turn that pipe off, and if you don't have, you're not communicating with them through email or Facebook. If you're not doing everything and you turn that pipe off, it just stops. Your company stops.
Interesting. And do you guys find that there's, in both of your respective businesses, that there's communities that are champions of your brands? Like, there's people that are out there, word of mouth, like talking about your brands unsolicited. They're just really happy with the products, and they're saying like, hey,
you know what? Other than what we're noticing happening in the Yorkie community, which is right now my favorite community in the world, is Yorkie moms.
Yorkies sound like fanatics. It sounds like that's just
honestly, I can't believe it. And Yorkies are so little and light. Like, we've got this like human grade memory foam dog bed that is great for dogs that, any kind of dog, but it's really good if your dog's like 80 pounds and it doesn't want to sleep on the floor. It's going to get sore spots. Yorkies almost float. They're so little. But yeah, these guys love our products. But to be a really honest answer to your question is no, I don't know this yet. I think we're so early. I spend so much time testing and just doing everything. I'm hard on myself, and I don't think I've paid enough attention to, okay, who exactly is, our customer. One thing I can tell you is their demographics look a lot like young couples in their late 20s and early 30s who have chosen to not have kids yet, okay, because their dog is their kid. They live downtown, they spent some money in a great place, and it looks fantastic, and they go buy a Frenchie or a Yorkie or something, and that's their kid. And they just throw a ton of money at this dog. It's got its own Instagram account. They're really particular about what they buy, and that was our initial focus on, I'm like, what does that couple buy? That guy, he shops at Frank and Oak, and she shops at Kit and Ace, and where do they buy their dog stuff? They're not going to go into Petco and buy like a Martha Stewart bed. It's bullshit. Yep. But then we also noticed, and this is why Zoomer sort of kicked in, there's a lot of empty nesters. Like, people just like, they're past the finish line, the kids are off, and they're also spending money, or maybe they're single. Like, they're, there's a lot of people just, we learn about all this with our partnership with Zoomer. And it's, that sort of 55 plus crowd who's like, cool. They still have a really cool place, and they've got this dog, and their kids are gone, and this is their new kid. So these are the two communities. Now, what they exactly look like, this is still a process for us. We're not analyzing the data better.
I'd be so curious to know what like the like actuation point is for your business. I mean, I'm not very familiar. I have a dog. I'm not very familiar, and I love my dog, so I know dog owners. But I mean, I would be so curious to know what that actuation point is when someone goes from using your product or reading your content to purchasing something from your site, but then that next step, like what is it that will put them over the edge to say, hey, a neighbor who also owns a dog, you gotta go here for that. Like, I think that's
really great question, and I'm trying to solve that every day. We use tools like Yotpo to reach out and say, hey, can you write a review? This morning I spent 2 hours in a webinar with a company called Loyalty Lion out of the UK about just starting a loyalty program, because we're trying to, get that multiple purchase. We're building we're building every product a dog, with the exception of food products, that a dog would want, right? We've got homeware, we've got leashes and collars, we're building toys right now, leashes and collars are being built. We're about to do a Kickstarter on the dopest dog parka you've ever seen. Like, this is going to be so cool, man. Like, if Drake owned a dog, this dog would be wearing this parka.
So here's
cool.
an interesting one.
Yeah.
Are you making, again, I'm just very curious, but are you making anything for the dog owners to wear?
Yes. Yeah, that will come. That will come. I mean, let's not be silly here.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle brand, and the dog owners, we want them to be part of the lifestyle. My background, just so we all know, like, I'm 18 years in the apparel industry. I've built many men's and ladies apparel brands, so this is in my blood. But the reason I picked dogs is because when's the last time you've heard a dog try on a jacket and go, "Nah, I feel kind of fat in this. I'm gonna return it." They don't. Like, our returns are less than 1%, even over the holiday season. It's incredible. People just, we have a really good FAQ, and people know how to fit their dogs. Generally, actually, the returns are so low right now. When someone needs to return it, it's so much labor and cost to get the product back. We just tell them to go and take it to a local shelter and donate it.
Yeah.
It's better PR for us. They generally post something about it. It's better. And I feel like I got off track on something here. We were talking about jackets and shit, whatever.
No, but it's fascinating because of everywhere you guys have where you've gone with this. And back in my previous life, when I worked at Caboose, we had a website that was called Two Peas in a Pod, and it was for scrapbooking. And this site did over 1 million transactions a day in people communicating with each other just around that they were building, the new scrapbooking. And they had these 50 ladies, 40 or 50 ladies. The story's been old, so it's a bit long since I've talked about it. And these people were, as you kind of mentioned, they were the trustworthy ladies. You need to buy this product. This is what you need to do. And this is how I set it up. And then everybody would go out and buy all the products to do that.
So, yeah.
Monetized it was that they built it off the ad networks back in the day. So they were able to drive in the users, all the interactions, monetized it. But you're kind of doing the same thing. You're finding that niche group that kind of fits and pushes through your product, but understands what you're doing. You get a few people that aren't overly exposed, like millions of followers, where they start thinking, well, you're a Kardashian. I don't really believe so much of what you're telling me and selling me. But you find kind of that second and third person in there that's probably not as followed, but still has a good following, that people start to trust more because they're not exploiting themselves. Wear it, people support that, they love it, and they want to follow along and kind of do what they're saying. So I guess to summarize that, it really does drive down to finding the right you can trust. They're going to be able to help sell your product, or at least help talk about your product. And then from there, you're going to get into other metrics where you're trying to figure out best ways to monetize, do media, which is through your Facebook and your groups, and those types of things. So I guess in time, it takes a little bit of extra effort to kind of build through that. But I liked also the one point you mentioned more on this, Jeremy, which was the strategy side. I think a lot of people talk about strategy. As an entrepreneur, you're always running and gunning and trying to I got to get to the next dollar. I got to get to the next transaction. Where is that time where everybody in their business says, you know what, I think I'm at the right spot to actually plan ahead and start to put in a strategy, or at least and putting components together?
Yeah, strategy is day one, man. That's before you launch. You better. That's my feeling is you better have the strategy. So we The strategy is simply just figuring out where your customer lives. Where are they? Where are they hanging out on Facebook? I mean, Buns is brilliant. I mean, this is just, you invite everybody in this exclusive group. You know, you've got this captive audience, and you've got to find these captive audiences. Like, where are they? And I think your strategy has to be pretty broad at the beginning, and it's got to, like, you have to be testing the whole way down and figuring out, and then just doubling down, quadrupling down on the things that are working. Like, if I showed you this thing we call the circle game here at the office, where we're just testing all these different funnels, you know, all the things that we're doing can sometimes sound kind of crazy, but there's 20 things in the bucket that didn't work that we've already tested. And you've got to, like, you know, you have to look for engagement. You've got to look for that monthly growth. But, you know, I always say you've got to at least have a very solid, and consistency is the most important thing, strategy on day one. Like, let me tell you what day one looked like for us. So I'm developing a product, developed grooming products. We launched this company with grooming products simply because I could execute it really quickly. There, you know, I think it was 6 weeks from start to finish, including the branding, to get this product to market, which was incredible. And it just sort of set the tone for what the company was going to be. But I knew what I had to do in the content side. And the content strategy, I knew, it's like, I'm going to hope I'm going to get to where I want to be in a year, but I know it's a minimum 2 years. It's a long tail strategy. It involves, you know, investors with, you know, iron stomachs, because we didn't want to spend a ton of money on just Facebook ads. So this was me every morning on my back deck. We used this platform called Pressly, because I didn't have a bunch of writers. You know, I didn't have, you know, Nicole and Alyssa and, you know, Lori Lynn and everybody, you know, editing and doing all the moving pieces that we have. It was just me and a laptop and a shitty one on my back deck here every morning, 6 a.m., built out, you know, a content site on Pressly, and I would just sit there going through BuzzSumo looking for trending topics. I'd probably post, 50 articles a day, and just sharing across our Facebook page. But mostly I would just share articles that were trending that had really great pictures, because then I would use buffer. I would buffer every single one of the 12 pictures that were on this article, change the source URL to where I shared it on Pressly, and just push it across Pinterest. And so for 4 hours every morning, I wouldn't even let myself look at my inbox. I was just on Pinterest, driving traffic and building community, just figuring out where the hell everybody was. And it worked. It worked. There was a lot of traffic. And we figured out how much we could convert. And, you know, and then things got bigger and things got more difficult and better. But, you know, those are the early days. I picked the one strategy, and I just did it every single day. And it's exhausting. Like, and you feel crazy some mornings. It's just like, what the hell am I doing out here? Just literally hitting pictures of puppies sitting in a watermelon or whatever the hell it was. And it's like, but it works. And and that's the thing. Like, your strategy has to be well thought out. There's, you know, and the best thing is, you know, you can just find, no matter what your vertical is, you can just do, you know, about a month of research, and you're going to get a good idea of where at least your baseline should be. And just do it every single day.
Yeah, the whole build, measure, learn, right? You just gotta measure it, learn from it, and then go again. And you just gotta make sure that you're keeping track of what you're doing, because if you don't, then you wind up just in a cycle where you aren't learning from what you're actually trying.
I also, there's one thing, and I still try to do this, but back then, I made myself have one meeting per week with someone who was smarter than me on at least one thing. And it's because, you know, you have to eat your own dog food, right? You have to, like, be a champion of your brand. But you also got to figure out how to just keep raising the bar every day. And every little, like, whether it was someone about Pinterest or somebody who understood UTM codes and how to, like, measure data properly, like, I would try to just get a meeting, every meeting led to the next meeting. Every week, for probably 6 months, I would just meet someone who was smarter than me, and just, you know, dump my bag on the table. Here's everything I'm doing. Tell me where I'm crazy. Tell me what I should stop. Tell me what else I'm missing. What should I try? Like, the first year is like, Tim, right? It's exhausting. The first year is like, holy fuck. It's exhausting. It's like, you know, and you know, I need my team to keep me in check, because it's like, I'll just do everything.
You kind of get used to that, wearing all the hats, so you got to kind of run gun, right? So, which makes sense. I do agree with the one meeting. I don't know, maybe sometimes it might be 5 meetings, but you're trying to get in as much as you can and driving out that build and strategy of where can we go next, and how can we get more exposure for the least amount of dollars and not overdoing it. So, Sasha, how are you finding the same side of thing? Have you guys tried different techniques, tactics? What was your side of strategy when you started? So, no, you guys shifted, right?
Yeah. So I think obviously we have a pretty strong organic growth that happens with funds as a result of just this. Like, I think a lot of times people are very interested in the stories that are created out of funds, and that's what makes it so popular and so interesting, as well as just the community. Like, there's a huge amount of authenticity in the community. These are people who are doing something kind of net new, and so I think we're very fortunate in the regard that, like, a lot of our approach is really just about improving our product and looking more at how we kind of we look at it less from like a marketing strategy perspective. And we're fortunate enough to have a marketing team that's really great, but we always kind of zero back in on our product and say, like, how do we make the product even more amazing? What can it do that it's not able to do right now? And will people talk about that new thing? And I think for us, that's really where we focus our marketing energy, almost, is like back to product in some weird way. We don't really look at our growth from we do have a small content strategy, but it was, again, community driven. The community wanted to make content, supported the community, and they created the content, and we just gave them the ability and the eyeballs to be able to see the content and distribute it. So we're really in a unique situation because, like, whereas a lot of people's monetization models are dependent upon like conversion of e-commerce, for us, Buns is the people that use it. So more so than, like, we don't have an e-commerce solution attached to our platform at the moment. But even e-commerce, we look at it in terms of like we're more of a peer-to-peer marketplace. So we'll always be more on the peer-to-peer side, less on the like storefront to customer. But also on top of that, like, how do we build new ways of creating commerce locally? Like, that's kind of, we've had a number of conversations and research we've done around what businesses need and what customers who sell products online need, and really, like, we have our own hypotheses around what we should be building and why. And so we've kind of started by winning our segment back from Facebook by building this product that was better by building trust and connecting people in an easier way and removing some of the barriers. But now we're evolving into, in the coming months, we'll be evolving as a Buns, we'll be evolving into a number of new ideas that are based on the behaviors we've seen in our existing community. So, I mean, it's a really different way of looking at things, is because just so many people talk about Buns, like people are really, we get people sending us cakes. People sending us cards saying,
I want cakes.
Yeah, I mean, like, who doesn't? Like, we've got a team of developers, and they're fantastic, and it's just really amazing when a community comes together, around a newer idea that kind of gives them it's a very real sense of community as a result of the fact that you actually meet somebody, like, and especially particularly when money is removed from the equation in Buns, and something really peculiar happens. It's like, let's say, as an example, you're selling a bicycle and I'm going to buy that bicycle. If that was the case, which that is not Buns right now, if that was the case where you're selling a bicycle and I'm buying a bicycle, you and I will fundamentally be at odds when we meet, because you want the most amount of money, I want the least amount of money. And so I want to pay the least amount of money, and you want the most amount of money for your bike. In Buns, it's a bit of a different situation where I have something I'm not using, it's a lamp, and you have a bicycle that you want to get rid of, and I say, hey, I message you and say, hey, I'd love to trade you that bicycle for this lamp, and both of us kind of get rid of the thing we don't want, but get what we want in return. So a lot of times, in a company, we're talking about getting what you want for what you have, or short on money, long on things. And so it creates this connection to other people, and we started to realize that actually people are making really meaningful connections by meeting other people locally. And we started to see the transactions accelerate because people were talking about it, and we saw that the conversations and dialogue that were happening on Buns was becoming more powerful, or even stronger. And then we saw them break out into interest group communities and enthusiast communities. So there's this really amazing thing that's happened, and we're so fortunate to be at the center of it. But it's this amazing thing that I think that was missing from the way we look at social. which is like we became so comfortable with the idea that you should only really be connected to people who you know, that that's the way the internet was organized. Like you look at a number of platforms, you have the ability to go private or non-private. But with Facebook in particular, as like a behemoth organization, which is an amazing service when it launched. I was super excited in university when it came out. The one amazing part about it is that it's only one way to organize the world based on who you know. And we never really saw the alternative to that. And that's really what Buns is doing, is building a net new way of connecting people locally. So I feel like that was a pretty good rant.
No, that was great.
That was a
You're
good
right. It comes down to a lot of the time it's coming down to the fact that we all still want to connect. We all want to network, and there's a commonality. And the commonality between person is that they're sharing a product or I'm sharing a product. So there's something that ties us together. So it's not as scary or daunting as what the rest of the world seems like, walking down the street and running into 1,000 people. So because there's some sort of transaction that can occur, there's some sort of special bonding per se. And you guys are driving that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it even, like, we can even see signs earlier. There are earlier signs of this having, like, coming to the market, and like, that's Airbnb, that's Uber, situations where you're meeting people offline that you're transacting with, and I think that was the beginning of it, of the undoing of the who you know versus who you don't know. And I think we're really early in what's going to be, a social shift, I think, in the way we perceive those around us. I think before Airbnb and Uber, everyone would have said, or even Kijiji, people used to say, oh, like, it's, you don't know them, they're strangers. Or, I think there's almost an assumption for quite some time that if you didn't know that person and you had to interact with them for a transaction, the immediate thing that you were told was like, hey, it's dangerous. And I think what Buns is really doing is completely deconstructing that assumption. And I think that's the most amazing thing, is that, like, there's this group of, huge group of people in Toronto that are transacting with each other because they think that there's something, because they don't choose to abide by that same prescripted rule. And, like, I think that's whenever there's a rule that's being broken, which is you shouldn't talk to people you don't know, don't talk to strangers. But in Buns, everyone was invited by somebody, so nobody's a stranger. So it's this net new way of breaking down a wall socially.
For sure.
Yep.
All of a sudden you realize that, people are inherently good.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so few, I mean, obviously Airbnb is a great example. There's so few problems that actually happen. Yeah, the ones that happen are in the...
they're big news for fun, right? I mean, I'm sure Airbnb grows even through the bad news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, this whole social side of it is, I mean, it's massive, because we're starting to realize that we can share our assets, or as opposed to throwing out that lamp, giving it to somebody else. Like, it's one person's garbage is another person's treasure, right?
Sure.
And, as we really start sharing things more, I mean, specifically with Rover, an example is that, for our entire lives, we've never thought that we could go park in somebody else's driveway. You wouldn't just drive down the street and go pull into somebody's driveway.
Yeah.
And there's a trust that is there. Now, with the ability to interact through a platform, you can all of a sudden share all of this stuff that is really just underutilized, or in Buns' case, something that's not being utilized at all, and have a better good for the community. And that's why, bringing it back to social, the trust and the word of mouth is how all these companies are going to grow. Because if I tell someone to go park in someone's driveway, sure, they might do it. But if a buddy tells someone about Rover, or if a buddy invites somebody to Buns, you're all of a sudden doing that through somebody that you actually trust. And that's something we haven't really touched on too much here from the social context, is sort of the referral network kind of things, which is what Uber and Airbnb have done a wonderful job in. And once you're big enough, referral starts to really work. I was sitting down with someone much brighter than I a couple of weeks ago, telling about referral, and he said, look, Tim, referral is not going to work when you have 1,000 users, because the reality of the matter is, you know, let's say 1 in 100 people are going to refer. So if 1 in 100 people are going to refer, then after you're only getting 10 people out of 1,000. So all of a sudden there's only 10 people now to refer, and you're not at your 1 in 100. So in order for referral to start working and word of mouth to start working, and, you know, really having those ambassadors, you need to have a couple 100,000 users. And once you have a couple 100,000 users, that referral network just keeps going, and you find yourself,
Okay.
you know, in an area where maybe you're getting some people in Nairobi, as you said.
But when do you start? When like what's the magic number for you to start?
So we've done a little bit with referral, and I truly don't think we're big enough by looking at our dollars right now. So what you have to figure out is how many people are going to refer. So if 1 in 10 is going to refer, then if you have 1,000 people, you're going to have 100 people that refer, and then of that 100, 10 are going to refer, and then of that 10, one's going to refer, and then you're done. So at 1,000 people, you're done after 4 levels of referral. Right? Keep going up and up. You then get to that point. And Uber's a great example.
Is there some sort of value that you're tying into this referral? Because I know that we all started using Ritual, and I don't know the size of Ritual, but it was kind of funny. But it was like, I don't know if it was, I think it was you, like, Jeffrey, let's use this.
Yeah, I want free love.
So we're perfect. So once we started doing that, it obviously caught on, and then they start asking for referrals. I have a place on Airbnb that does the same thing. It's always asking for referrals. It's always pushing that. So I guess at the end of the day, I don't know if it's a set number. It's just part of your growth strategy as you continue to move forward. There probably isn't a set, I need 10,000 users before I can have referrals. It just means how dedicated are those 1,000. And I think to kind of jump into the last question, I know we don't have, or second last question, but I don't know a lot more time. But I think one of the other ones that was that I'm very curious about, and this kind of fits into that, which is from a metric standpoint, what are the tools you're using to build the metrics around understanding your customer base, your referral base? What is the churn that you're going through? All kind of set in stone, or like your strategy, you created at the beginning, and then it's always that revolving door that you're kind of updating as you go, those changes. So how do you find, or what are you using to measure, to put those metrics together?
Can I take this one?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I'm sure everyone else has. Maybe I'll take it first. But so we started on Mixpanel, and Mixpanel, as we grew and events grew, it became very expensive very quickly. And then we moved to Amplitude, which is a competitor. And again, we had a similar situation where it grew, but it didn't do as much as Mixpanel. And we're very conservative with how we spend our money. So what we ended up doing is, and our team's extremely talented, we actually ended up building our own platform. So we built our own technology to analyze our data, our own pipelines, map everything, understand, you know, where traffic's coming from through like Branch. So we've integrated branch.io. So I think the interesting thing for us, and I'm actually particularly proud of it because the platform's, it's wicked, is we call it Orion because it holds our pants up like Orion's belt. But it's this data platform that we built based on our business. And we started realizing when we showed it to some of our friends who also run technology companies, they're like, man, like, can I use that? And we actually intentionally built it in a very Amazon way, which was we solarized the system so that we could create a secondary product should we want to out of it. Now, right now, we're the only company using it because we just have too much going on with funds to be able to make that available to other people. But yeah, really, like, you start, I think people go through like a number of different products to kind of find what's right for their business, and then, or their company or their community, whatever it may be that you're building. And then I think in our particular case, we just couldn't find something we were super happy with, so we ended up building our own platform.
Very cool. And how about yourself, Tim?
Yeah, so we use Mixpanel, and as opposed to building our own platform, we actually started tracking fewer events to essentially keep that cost down. We looked at building our own as well, Sasha. So I'd love to offline have a chat about that.
Yeah, totally. That'd be cool. Yeah.
But I mean, you mentioned the two ones that are most important to us right now, which are Mixpanel and branch, and branch to us is arguably even more important, just because it really does give us a better way to follow our user from actually getting them onto the platform to what they're doing on the platform, and tying that to a specific type of advertising or referral user or whoever it may be that brought them in there, so we can understand who's driving our business, whether it is people referring, whether it is certain types of advertisement or whatever it may be. But I mean, when I first started this, I never even heard of Mixpanel. So I would make sure anyone who's going to start something to think long and hard about getting some sort of data analytics in at first, because at first it's free. I mean, Mixpanel is free up to, I think, 250,000 events or something like that. So if you're early stage startup, I would 100% look at Mixpanel and Branch for sure.
It's a fantastic service. It really is. It's just at scale with it. That's a great way to do it, is tune down your events. But I mean, at scale, it starts to the bill starts to add up, and then you're like, okay, well, if we did this for the next 2 years, it'll cost us less if we just built something.
Yeah. For sure.
We use, everything that we use, all these little things that we use, like with the platform we use for our affiliate program, whatever ads we're running. Like right now, we're working with Vantage Analytics to get some key data. But to be honest, we're just doing everything what I call manual custom. It's whether it's Google Analytics mostly and spreadsheets. We eventually will build something custom. We have a new email funnel with this acquisition tool. We know we can get $1.56 out of every email address we acquire. We can get, our inbound looks like it's about 40 cents to acquire an email. You can just pour money on that all day long. Manage it, honestly, analyzing the cohorts is the hardest thing. It's like, okay, to get everyone we got this week, what week do they first convert after? So we're going to have to build something custom, And I've looked at everything, things that aggregate all the data, like Gecko board and stuff like this, and nothing does what I want it to do. So, and you can suddenly be sitting there, oh, I'll just try this, and this. The next thing you're going to get $1,000 a month you're clicking away at, and all these stupid metrics applications. And it's just like, if you do this, it's like Sasha says, it's like, fuck it. I'm just going to figure out how much it's going to cost and build something custom.
Yeah, drop me a line after both of you guys. I'll send you some screenshots of this thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm going to need an invite to this. I mean, that's how Slack got started, right? It was a tool that they use at a gaming company. A lot of great products are born this way. People just trying to build something to measure what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, you're solving your own problems versus having to go to somebody else's cookie cutter product. You're looking at ways to kind of get around that, and it totally makes sense. We built our own products for years, so we have our own CRM, our own workflow management system. And we've done that over the years because, again, it accommodated versus trying to dive in and use something that didn't accommodate our developers that are all over the world, and et cetera, et cetera. So you have to almost do that in order to be successful, but also because the cost isn't really warranted every time, right?
You know what else is really interesting about these platforms and these analytics platforms is sometimes you just want to be able to see the 3 things that you put out into the the mist of the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on this, on that, and then in the history, the 3 things that are active in the history that of everything else you've had, and be able to look at it and say what performed. Sometimes it's so difficult to understand in these platforms. If you want to correlate what you're doing to what's happening. And for whatever reason, that linkage doesn't, I guess maybe for marketers or data-rich people, it's fantastic. But I mean, sometimes you want to roll that up to a higher level summary that isn't just numeric. It's showing you what performed, why it performed potentially, and what the conversion rate is. I think there's a linkage that's missing between what you're doing to make growth and what that growth that materializes is. How that growth materializes. I think Branch is a fantastic service that helps do that. But really, again, to get further along on how and understand how we can impact that better, and looking at our history, it's just the only way to do it was to build our own system.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, I think that because it's 7 and I do have another panel starting in about 10 minutes. I'm going to ask one question. What's the number 1 metric? And then I have one last question, and we'll bounce from there. So what's the number 1 metric you care about the most? either as a startup or where you are today? Tim.
For me, it's active users, and that's active users defined as someone who is actually parking and doing a transaction. So not monthly active on your system, just in the app. It's active users who are actually transacting.
Sasha?
Yeah, I'd say customers who are getting customers transacting. And the reason for me though is I want to know that customers are getting value. Like I feel like when someone has realized the value, I know that my threshold for someone being active and inactive is 1 trade. And if they complete 1 trade, then I have a probability of them completing, indefinitely completing them going forward. So for me, it's about the customer or our community realizing value from the platform.
Jeremy?
It's top line sales for me. I'm old school. I want to see sales growth every month. If I'm doing everything else right, and we're pointing people in the right direction, that's going to keep growing. And when we experience dips or flat lines, like we've had a couple of, we've ditched a business unit the last about 2 months ago, and and I knew we were going to drop out of the sky, and it's fucking sucks. But we're growing straight back up again. But that's the number. If I'm losing sleep, it's top line sales. That's it. Yeah.
So we got transactions, activations, and top line. All 3 great components. So the last question, you can choose to answer it or not. Who are you voting for if you can vote in the US? Who are you going for?
You fucking.
And it's not like it's the best thing in the world because you're stuck between 2 people that I'm not sure either one should be qualified, but.
If President Trump is an extinction level event for the United States.
I'm on the same boat.
Yeah, I try to avoid politics in the public light, but yeah, I understand.
I don't. I'll get militant about this shit.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should be voting for Hillary Clinton. She is absolutely the most qualified candidate to ever stand up.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, like, I really, for for our sake and America's sake, I hope that Trump does not become president.
I'm being very selfish about this. I think he is. I'm not joking. I think that's an extinction level event on an economic level. I think like the U.S. is 90% of my business. If this guy wins, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. This is going to affect my company.
Yeah.
I want this guy not only to lose, I want his entire family exiled, and I don't want him. I want him in Mexico.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all your time. That was actually awesome. I wish we could keep talking because I'm sure we could go through hours more. I'm not even sure we were able to hit all the questions, but I think we got a good summary of all of the key points on the social side to metrics. And, of course, who you're going to vote for if you're able to. So I think that was great. Hopefully we'll all be able to chat offline and share some more stories. And as we kind of keep going through OPN, maybe there's some other panels that we'll be able to get you guys on.
Cool.
But I'm certainly appreciative of all the information and all the cool things that you guys were able to share.
Right on.
I made a lot of notes. I'm going to loop back to both of you guys and some other questions that I have. So hopefully that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Okay, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.